In the Mesozoic era, when the earth was trampled by fierce behemoths and the skies screeched with pterosaurs, there existed a peculiar form of life. It turned its back on the sun-drenched shallow seas and resolutely descended into the deep abyss, thousands of meters down, where even sound is swallowed whole. Its life was destined to be spent in ultimate darkness and eternal solitude. Yet, nature bestowed upon it a pair of tennis ball-sized eyes, a rarity in the entire history of life, making it the lone sentinel of the shadowy world. Tonight, by the gentle flicker of the hearth, let us immerse ourselves in this story, one you need not effort to remember, and step into the true lifetime of the ophthalmosaurus. Try to slow your breathing, letting it match the cold, gentle tide as it creeps over your ankles, washing away all the anxieties and restlessness of the day. The tale we are about to tell is not a brutal story of predation and survival, but an ancient dream of seeking tranquility and gazing tenderly through the deepest dark. To paleontology's cold records, the name Ophthalmosaurus might just be a symbol filled with skeletal measurements. But within that dark blue deep sea of the Mesozoic, it was a solitary prowler, recording the silent history of the abyss with its beautiful, massive eyes. Now, the clamor of the world has receded, all things on land have fallen still, and our consciousness will slowly descend into the mysterious deep ocean alongside this gentle creature. To comprehend the solitude of the Ophthalmosaurus, we must first depart from the surface world where sunlight can pierce, and turn our gaze toward the extreme depths 500, 1,000, or even more meters beneath the waves. In that distant epoch known as the Jurassic, the surface ocean was a savage battlefield of survival, where countless massive marine reptiles clashed in the waves, churning up blood-red foam. Yet, the Ophthalmosaurus seemed weary of this ceaseless strife. Its anatomy underwent a long, resolute evolution, driven solely by the desire to flee the sunlight and dive deeper. Its body was streamlined like a flawless, hydrodynamic droplet, its limbs reduced to supple flippers that could sway in the water without creating a single ripple. Most astonishing of all were its eyes, which occupied nearly the entire skull, an extraordinary organ forced to evolve for survival in twilight or complete darkness. Encased around each eyeball was a sclerotic ring made of several delicate bones, acting like a refined suit of armor to protect the fragile organs from the crushing pressure of the deep sea. As the Ophthalmosaurus began its descent into the depths at dusk, the water shifted from bright azure to heavy indigo, eventually dissolving into a boundless pitch black. The din of the shallow waters and the competition of its peers faded away. When the last sliver of sunlight was severed by miles of water, the world finally became silent. In this realm devoid of wind and wave noise, the Ophthalmosaurus gently opened its tender, giant eyes, and began to weave its own destiny in the dark. At the threshold of the abyssal zone, the darkness is not a dead silence, but a fluid poetry tinged with faint bioluminescence. The Ophthalmosaurus's tennis ball-sized eyes possessed a light-gathering power beyond human imagination, capable of capturing the faintest quantum transitions in the dark. In its sight, the deep-sea's specialized glowing jellyfish and ancient squids shimmering with ghostly green light became like stars scattered across the night sky, painting the quiet abyss into a dreamlike cosmos. It navigated through these drifting lights, its massive body weightless in the absence of gravitational pull, floating slowly with every movement as if drifting through outer space. Sometimes, it would hover suspended at a certain depth, cradled by the cold, gentle currents, its large eyes, devoid of a focused pupils yet radiating a soft tenderness, gazing blankly at the distant glimmers. Here, time seemed to lose all meaning. There was no cycle of sunrise and sunset, only the endless brushing of currents and the steady, slow thumping of its own heart. It had no need to remain hypervigilant like the dinosaurs on land, nor did it need to roar in anger over territory. The deep ocean embraced this lonely creature with its infinite tolerance. With every passing breath, the water pressure kissed its smooth skin, offering a heavy yet comforting sense of security, much like a thick blanket on a winter night. The Ophthalmosaurus was like a solitary traveler taking a late-night stroll, unhurried and unbothered, savoring the ultimate serenity of a world without noise. However, every choice carries a price. The Ophthalmosaurus's infatuation with silence and darkness meant it had to endure the ultimate loneliness of life. As a reptile that returned to the ocean from the land, its biology still retained the ancient traits of live birth, yet it chose the coldest, most desolate edge of the abyss as its nursery and sanctuary. In the vast, featureless deep sea, the meeting of two ophthalmosauruses often required hundreds of days of waiting and the serendipitous alignment of ocean currents. They possessed no complex language to broadcast notes of longing through the dark. Their only reliance was a familiar, massive shadow occasionally flickering at the edge of their vision. When two ophthalmosauruses crossed paths in the faint blue glow, they did not entwine fiercely like shallow water creatures. Instead, they would swim side by side for a long distance, their massive eyes reflecting each other's form. That companionship was intensely restrained, no sound, no touch, only the quiet understanding and warmth of confronting the boundless darkness together in the icy water. When this fleeting bond reached its end, as one turned upward to chase plankton and the other dove into a deeper canyon, they would slowly part ways. There were no sorrowful goodbyes, no frantic glances backward. They merely flicked their tail fins, slipped back into their respective black worlds, and wrapped themselves in solitude once more. This sense of destiny repeated throughout the ophthalmosaurus's lifetime, causing its gaze to grow gentler and more profound over the long years. As the pendulum of life swung toward its end, the ophthalmosaurus would welcome its curtain call in the most ritualistic manner. The giant eyes that had spent a lifetime watching the deep-sea glimmers began to dim, and the sensitive photoreceptor cells upon its retina went out one by one, like dying stars in the night sky. It knew it could no longer precisely track the paths of glowing squids, nor maintain its perfect equilibrium against the surging currents, but it felt no fear. In its final moments, the ophthalmosaurus made a final choice. It stopped fighting to flap its flippers toward the surface for air, and completely relaxed its body. Its immense, warm form, which had carved countless elegant arcs in the deep ocean, began to sink under the pull of gravity at an incredibly slow pace, drifting toward the absolute bottom of the abyss where not even a glimmer exists. It was a long and peaceful descent that could take days or even weeks. As it sank, it seemed to be whispering a final farewell to the ocean that had nurtured it for a lifetime. Water currents passed through its hollow yet still gentle eye sockets, carrying away the last traces of life's warmth, while its soul seemed to have long dissolved into the surrounding blue void. The world above was still experiencing the destruction and rebirth of the dinosaur era. Comets might be ripping through the sky, volcanoes might be spewing fire, but none of this mattered to the descending soul anymore. With an almost eternal grace, the ophthalmosaurus settled into the soft silt of the seafloor, becoming the most ancient and tender whale fall of the deep, sustaining smaller lives in the darkness. 100 million years later, when we excavate the massive fossilized sclerotic ring of the ophthalmosaurus from the cold rock layers, we can still feel that tranquil power piercing through time. Those tennis ball-sized eyes, though long transformed into cold, lifeless stone, have left the deep sea they once beheld and the solitude they once embraced embedded in the deepest memory of the earth. It answers the riddle of why some life forms walk into the dark. Some creatures come into this world not to conquer, nor to shine, but merely to exist tenderly in a place unknown to anyone. Now, the story of the ophthalmosaurus has come to a close, and that dark blue ocean from 100 million years ago has transformed into the safest, most comfortable sleep sanctuary around you. Free from the clamor of the day and the clutter of work, you are just like that ophthalmosaurus gliding through the abyssal depths, possessing a pair of gentle eyes that can ignore the darkness and see only beauty. The air around you grows lighter, your blanket feels like a gentle current, wrapping you snugly yet softly, bringing you ultimate peace. The sparks in the hearth have burned out, leaving only a faint, residual warmth guarding this night, like the most distant, healing bioluminescence in the deep sea. Please close your eyes with peace of mind, and let your consciousness drift into the depths of this ancient dreamscape, where there is no noise, only boundless serenity. May you shed all your weariness under the watch of the ophthalmosaurus's gentle gaze, and fall into the deepest, sweetest sleep. Good night, and may you have a beautiful dream of the deep sea, of silence, and of tenderness.